The street was bathed in dim light, shadows stretching like fingers across the pavement. A young man lunged at Anna Peterson, ripping her handbag from her grasp and shoving her friend to the ground. The flash of a knife caught the street lamp, but Anna did not flinch. Her gaze was ice, calculated, unyielding. In that instant, the thief did not realize he had stolen more than a bag. He had awakened a woman who would make him regret the moment he crossed her, and the reckoning would be precise, silent, and unstoppable. Anna Peterson had perfected the art of being invisible. At 74, she fit seamlessly into the quiet margins of American urban life, the kind of woman people registered only in passing. Sensible orthopedic shoes. Long wool coats in shades of gray and brown. A faint, indefinable accent people placed vaguely as European, which made her seem harmless, slightly outdated, and permanently grateful to be here at all. She lived alone in a brick apartment building constructed sometime before the Second World War, on a street where the trees were older than the residents and the city had long since stopped paying attention. Every morning at exactly 8:30, Anna stepped onto the narrow balcony of her third-floor apartment and watered her potted geraniums. She did it carefully, never spilling a drop onto the sidewalk below. If someone happened to look up, she would nod politely, a small, courteous smile touching her lips. The neighbors knew her as the quiet old widow who read thick novels, baked cookies for holidays, and never complained about noise. Apartment 3B always smelled of lavender and warm sugar. The scent drifted faintly into the hallway, clinging to the peeling wallpaper and the rusted metal of the stair rail. Inside, the apartment was tidy in a way that suggested discipline rather than enthusiasm. Everything had a place, and nothing remained out of place for long. The furniture was old but carefully maintained, survivors from earlier decades polished into respectability by patience and routine. A crocheted blanket lay folded over the back of the couch, never rumpled, never casually used. Photographs lined the wooden dresser near the entrance. Children smiling stiffly at school ceremonies. Teenagers on beaches, squinting into the sun. Young adults holding diplomas, arms wrapped around one another in familiar, rehearsed poses. Anna referred to them as her nieces and nephews, children of a sister who had moved back overseas years ago. The explanation was simple, forgettable, and therefore effective. No one ever noticed that the same faces appeared again and again under different names. Most afternoons, Anna sat in her armchair by the window and knitted. Her hands moved with astonishing speed for someone her age, thin fingers guiding the needles in a steady rhythm that never faltered. Gray yarn transformed into socks of remarkable quality, tight, durable, and precise. She knitted without looking, her eyes instead following the street below, where life passed without ever acknowledging her existence. Delivery trucks idled at red lights. Children cut across the road after school. Men with tired shoulders and women who walked quickly, as if speed itself could serve as protection. The neighbors believed she donated the socks to homeless shelters and church drives. Sometimes she did. Sometimes she did not. Inside each finished piece, hidden within an unremarkable row of stitches, was a pattern invisible to anyone who did not know how to read it. To an outsider, it was simply good craftsmanship. To those who knew, it was information, bank accounts reduced to loops, addresses disguised as decreases and increases, names encoded in the negative space between rows. Entire operations passed through her living room without ever touching a keyboard or a phone line. In certain circles far removed from neighborhood potlucks and holiday bake sales, Anna Peterson was known by another name. The archivist. She did not generate information. She did not command crews or issue threats. She preserved, translated, transmitted. In a world obsessed with speed and digital footprints, she was an anomaly, slow, analog, untraceable. No server logs. No wiretaps. No metadata. Only wool, memory, and an alphabet everyone else believed had disappeared decades ago. Her landline rang rarely. When it did, it was almost always a wrong number, a telemarketer, or an automated reminder from the pharmacy. The real messages never arrived through official channels. On this particular Saturday, Anna prepared for an evening at the theater. She dressed carefully, choosing a modest navy dress and a wool coat she had owned for over 20 years. A small handbag rested on the kitchen table, its contents unremarkable, a wallet, tissues, reading glasses, and a folded playbill from a previous performance. She checked the locks twice, turned off the lights, and stepped into the hallway with practiced ease. Her friend Maggie Collins was waiting downstairs, bundled against the cold and already complaining about her knees. They had known each other since their first years in America, bonded by shared language, shared displacement, and the quiet understanding that some pasts were better left untouched. To Maggie, Anna was a comfort, reliable, kind, and pleasantly dull. Exactly the kind of friend one trusted without reservation. The theater was crowded, filled with the soft perfume of money and culture. They applauded at the appropriate moments, whispered brief observations during intermission, and chose a side exit to avoid the main crowd. Outside, the cold had sharpened, the night air brittle and unforgiving. Anna stepped onto the sidewalk, adjusted her scarf, and felt the city shift. Something unseen moved at the edge of her awareness, subtle but unmistakable. A disturbance in the pattern. The kind that never happened by accident. She did not react. Not yet. The side street beside the theater was poorly lit, the kind of place city planners forgot and criminals remembered. A single flickering street lamp cast long, unreliable shadows across cracked pavement and bare winter trees. The sound of traffic faded quickly, replaced by the distant hum of the city breathing somewhere far away. Maggie Collins adjusted her scarf and sighed. "I told you we should have gone out the front," she muttered. "My knees hate shortcuts." Anna smiled faintly. "You always say that," she replied, her voice warm, calm, convincingly tired. They walked slowly, arm in arm, their footsteps unhurried. To anyone watching, they were exactly what they appeared to be, two elderly women navigating a city that had grown indifferent to them. Anna felt it then, not fear, not surprise, but confirmation. The subtle tightening in her chest that arrived when a pattern broke. Footsteps behind them. Too light to be accidental. Too careful. She did not turn around. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement detach itself from the darkness between the trees. A young man stepped forward, athletic build, hood pulled low, hands buried deep in the pockets of a cheap tracksuit. His posture was wrong, coiled, aggressive, desperate in a way that suggested he had already rehearsed this moment. It happened quickly. A flash of metal caught the street lamp's dying light. Not a switchblade, not theatrical. A kitchen knife. Practical. Unremarkable. The kind that came from a drawer where forks were missing and plates were chipped. "Bag," the man said. His voice cracked on the word. "Now." Maggie gasped, instinctively tightening her grip on Anna's arm. "Oh my God," the man lunged forward, grabbing Anna's handbag with more force than skill. Anna let it go immediately. Resistance would have been inefficient. The sudden movement, however, startled Maggie. She stumbled backward, her heel catching the uneven curb. She fell hard, the sound of bone against stone sharp enough to echo. "Jesus," the man swore. For a moment, everything froze. Anna knelt beside Maggie at once, her movements careful, maternal. "Do not move," she said softly. "Just breathe." Maggie groaned, clutching her knee. He pushed, "I know," Anna said. She looked up. The man was already backing away, clutching the handbag like a prize he did not understand. His eyes flicked between the two women, calculating risk. Elderly. Hurt. No witnesses. His shoulders relaxed slightly. A mistake. Anna Peterson met his gaze. There was no panic in her eyes. No confusion. No pleading. What stared back at him was something far older than anger, cold, precise, and utterly uninterested in mercy. The look lasted less than a second, but it was enough. His smile faltered. "Sorry," he muttered reflexively, already turning away. "Should not," he ran. His footsteps disappeared into the maze of paths cutting through the small park beyond the street. The city swallowed him easily, as it always did. Anna remained kneeling until she was sure he was gone. Then she stood. Her hands did not shake. She helped Maggie to her feet, supporting her carefully. "We'll call a cab," Anna said. "You'll be sore tomorrow, but nothing is broken." Maggie leaned heavily against her, breathing hard. I thought he was going to." "He was not," Anna said gently. "Not tonight." That much, at least, was true. Back in her apartment, Anna settled Maggie onto the couch and wrapped a blanket around her legs. She brewed tea, added honey, and spoke in soothing platitudes learned over decades. Maggie relaxed gradually, the shock dulling into exhaustion. "I do not know what I would have done without you," Maggie murmured. Anna smiled and squeezed her hand. That's what friends are for. After the cab arrived and carried Maggie home, Anna locked the door behind her and stood still in the hallway. The apartment felt unchanged. Lavender. Warm wood. Silence. She removed her coat and hat with care, placing them exactly where they belonged. Only then did she allow her expression to empty completely. The softness drained from her face, leaving behind something sharp and controlled. Anna crossed the living room and stopped in front of the bookcase. Her fingers slid along the spines until they reached a familiar volume, a complete collection of American short stories, its dust jacket worn and faded. She pulled it free, revealing the recessed compartment behind it. Inside lay a phone that had never been registered, logged, or acknowledged by any network that mattered. She sat down at the table before dialing. The call connected on the second ring. Yes, a man's voice answered. No greeting. No name. Anna spoke clearly, without hesitation, without accent. Male. Early 20s. About 5'9". Dark hoodie, gray athletic pants, white sneakers. Knife, non-professional. Took a handbag belonging to me. He ran east through the park, exited near Cedar and 9th. Silence. Then, anyone hurt? My companion fell. Minor injury. A pause, just long enough to register meaning. Understood. That is all, Anna said. The call ended. 58 seconds. Anna returned the phone to its hiding place, slid the book back into position, and washed her hands thoroughly in the kitchen sink. The water ran hot. She scrubbed longer than necessary, not from fear, but from habit. Then she retrieved her knitting. The yarn tonight was black. She sat by the window, needles clicking softly as the city outside drifted toward sleep. Each stitch was deliberate. Each row carried intention. This was not punishment. It was correction. Somewhere across the city, 3 vehicles began to move. Anna did not look up. She finished the first sock just before midnight, closed the final stitch, and cut the yarn cleanly. The pattern was complete. And somewhere, a young man was about to learn that there were still rules in a city that pretended it none. Anna Peterson slept for exactly 4 hours. She woke without an alarm at 5:30, as she always did, her mind already alert, her body following out of long-established discipline. Outside, the city was quiet in that peculiar way it only managed before dawn, not peaceful, but paused, as if holding its breath. She made her bed with careful precision, smoothing the sheets until no crease remained. In the bathroom, she washed her face with cold water and examined her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked unchanged, pale hair pinned neatly back, fine lines etched by time, eyes that suggested patience rather than threat. No trace of the previous night lingered on the surface. That, Anna thought, was the point. She dressed in a cardigan and slacks, put on the kettle, and sat at the kitchen table with her knitting. The second sock took less time than the first. Her hands moved faster now, confident in the pattern she had already established. Black wool slid over metal needles, forming something both ordinary and irrevocable. In another part of the city, far from Sadovia Street's American equivalent, the response had already begun. The men who answered the call did not know Anna Peterson. They knew the archivist. To them, she was not a person but a function, an immutable point in a shifting system. Information passed through her, not because she demanded it, but because she remembered. Because she never lost anything. Because when she spoke, events followed. At 2:14 a.m. 3 vehicles had converged near Cedar and 9th. No sirens. No headlights. Just the quiet choreography of people who had done this many times before. They did not rush. Panic was inefficient. By the time Anna tightened the final stitch and cut the yarn, the situation had already resolved itself into certainty. She did not need updates. Instead, she prepared breakfast, oatmeal, toast, a single cup of black coffee. She ate slowly, reading the local newspaper. There was an article about rising rents, another about a city council vote no one would remember by next week. On page 6, a short paragraph mentioned increased police presence near the park after a disturbance. No details. No names. Good. At 8:30, Anna stepped onto her balcony and watered the geraniums. The sky was pale and undecided, clouds drifting lazily overhead. A woman from the second floor waved. Anna nodded back, smiling faintly. Invisible. At 9:15, the knock came. It was soft. Respectful. 3 measured taps. Anna did not look surprised. She set down her teacup and walked to the door, opening it without hesitation. 2 men stood in the hallway. Both were broad-shouldered, dressed plainly in leather jackets and jeans. They carried themselves with the quiet confidence of people accustomed to being obeyed. One of them held a heavy duffel bag. The other held Anna's handbag. "Good morning, Mrs. Peterson," the taller one said. "Good morning," Anna replied. "Come in." They entered without comment, closing the door behind them. The apartment absorbed them easily, domestic calm wrapping around their presence like a disguise. One of the men glanced at the photographs on the dresser, then away again, instinctively understanding that some things were not meant to be examined closely. The duffel bag was placed gently on the living room rug. The handbag was returned to the kitchen table. "Everything inside," the second man said. "Untouched." Anna opened it, checked briefly, then nodded. "Thank you." There were no questions. No explanations. There never were. She retrieved a neatly wrapped package from the hallway closet and handed it to them. Inside were several pairs of gray socks, identical to dozens she had already made this year. To an untrained eye, they were nothing special. The men knew better. "This covers the next quarter," Anna said calmly. "Routes have shifted." "ULLC where?" The taller man inclined his head slightly. "Understood." They left as quietly as they had arrived. Anna locked the door and returned to the living room. She stood for a moment, looking down at the duffel bag. It did not move. It did not need to. She dragged it into the spare room, a space she told neighbors was used for storage. When she returned, the apartment was once again immaculate. By the time the sun was fully up, there was no evidence that anyone else had been there at all. Maggie Collins arrived just after noon, walking stiffly and leaning heavily on her cane. "Doctor says it's just bruising," she announced from the doorway. "But I swear I'll feel it when it rains." Anna helped her inside, settling her into the armchair with practiced care. "You should rest," she said. "I made soup." Maggie smiled gratefully. "You're an angel, Anna." "Truly." Anna ladled the soup and placed it carefully in Maggie's hands. "I knitted you something," she added. "For your shoes. It might help." She handed over a pair of soft, newly made insoles. Maggie accepted them without hesitation. "Thank you," she said. "You always think of everything." Anna smiled. Outside, a bird landed briefly on the balcony railing, then startled, taking flight for no visible reason. Anna returned to her knitting. The city moved on, unaware that a small correction had been made. By Monday morning, the city had already forgotten. The park near Cedar and 9th returned to its usual rhythm: dog walkers, joggers with headphones, a man selling coffee from a cart that rattled when he pushed it too fast. The police tape was gone. Whatever questions had briefly surfaced dissolved into the background noise of a place where worse things happened every week. That was how systems survived, by absorbing damage without acknowledging it. Anna Peterson watched the morning news while folding laundry. The anchor spoke calmly about traffic, weather, and a minor spike in street-related incidents over the weekend. No names were mentioned. No faces shown. The story slid past like everything else. Good corrections were quiet. She folded the last towel, stacked it precisely, and placed it in the linen closet. Her movements were economical, deliberate, betraying nothing of the calculations constantly running beneath them. The knitting basket waited patiently by the armchair, black yarn now replaced with soft gray. New cycle. New instructions. Anna selected a fresh skein and tested its tension between her fingers. The wool was coarse, imperfect, better for encoding than the smoother varieties. She cast on without counting aloud, her hands remembering what her mind no longer needed to track consciously. Information had weight. Not physical weight, but resistance. Some names pulled harder than others. Some addresses caught, snagged, refused to slide easily into pattern. Those were the dangerous ones. This batch felt heavy. Elsewhere, the ripple spread. A meeting scheduled for noon was cancelled without explanation. A shipment rerouted twice before dawn arrived. A man who expected to be promoted received a polite email instead, thanking him for his service and wishing him well elsewhere. None of these events appeared connected. None of the people involved would ever trace them back to a woman on the third floor of an aging apartment building. That was the elegance of it. Anna did not control outcomes. She adjusted probabilities. She paused mid-row, listening. Footsteps in the hallway. A door opening, then closing. The elevator groaning its way upward. Normal sounds. Familiar sounds. Still, she waited until the rhythm settled again before continuing. Caution was not fear. It was maintenance. In the afternoon, Anna walked to the corner grocery store. She moved slowly, deliberately, leaning into the performance of age. The cashier greeted her by name. "Cookies again?" he asked with a grin. "For my friend," Anna replied. "She needs cheering up." He rang her up, slipped an extra cookie into the bag when he thought no one was watching. Anna thanked him sincerely. Kindness, she knew, was another system. One that also required care. Outside, she passed a man standing too still near the bus stop. Late 40s. Clean shoes. Eyes that tracked reflections instead of people. He glanced at her once, then away. Anna catalogued him without changing pace. She did not believe in coincidences, but she understood overlap. That evening, Anna received a letter. It lay on the doormat when she returned home, plain white envelope, no return address. Her name was typed, not handwritten. She picked it up carefully, feeling its weight, its stiffness. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "We need to talk." No signature. No instructions. Anna sat at the kitchen table for a long time, the letter untouched beside her teacup. The words were not threatening. They did not need to be. Only 3 people still used that phrasing with her. 2 of them were dead. She folded the letter once, then again, and slid it into the pocket of her cardigan. After a moment's thought, she retrieved the black yarn from the basket and placed it back on top. Not yet. That night, she dreamed of another city. A colder one. Narrow streets. A different name spoken in a different language. Needles clicking in a dark room while men argued in whispers nearby. She woke before dawn, heart steady, memory sharp. The past, it seemed, had decided to resurface. On Tuesday morning, Maggie Collins called. "I do not like to bother you," Maggie said, which meant she absolutely wanted to talk. But there's been a man asking questions in the building. Anna stirred her tea slowly. "What kind of questions?" "About you," Maggie said, lowering her voice. "Said he was doing research. Journalism or something. I told him you were just a sweet old lady who knits." Anna smiled. "That was kind of you." "Well," Maggie said, hesitating, "he did not look like a journalist." "No," Anna agreed softly. "He would not." After the call ended, Anna sat very still. Corrections, she knew, always created counterweights. She rose, went to the bookcase, and pulled out a different volume this time. Inside the hidden compartment lay not a phone, but a thin notebook. Its pages were filled with symbols, dates, and names written in multiple inks, some faded almost beyond recognition. She turned to a blank page. Carefully, she wrote a name she had not written in over 20 years. Then she picked up her needles. If the system wanted her attention, it would have it. On her terms. The first time Anna Peterson earned the name The Archivist, she was not yet 70, not yet settled in her quiet apartment on the 3rd floor. She was 24, living in a cramped Brooklyn apartment that smelled of mildew and coffee grounds, with 3 jobs that barely kept the lights on. At the time, she had believed her skill with patterns, her memory for details, her ability to organize and decode, were nothing more than quirks, a way to survive in a city that devoured the unprepared. It began with letters. At first, they came anonymously, slid under her door or left in the slot at the corner mailroom. The envelopes were thick, unmarked, and carefully sealed. Inside, someone, no one she had ever met, wrote in neat, precise handwriting, asking her to record accounts, to memorize sequences of numbers, to keep track of people. It was mundane at first. Bank ledgers, addresses, phone numbers. Her young mind, always restless, found a strange pleasure in the order, the clarity, the invisible logic of it. Then came the instructions. Do this. Watch that. Remember the unremarkable, and mark the remarkable. At 24, Anna was naive enough to believe it was merely data collection, a secret game, a puzzle of power that had nothing to do with violence. She was wrong. The letters never warned her of consequences, and yet consequences always followed. The first disappearance she learned about was that of a man who had crossed the wrong people. She had simply noted his address, his routines, the subtle anomalies in his behavior. 2 weeks later, news came through oblique channels. A neighbor mentioned he had moved suddenly, no